Hello everyone, I'm in Daryl, and this is mainly to the people in my group BL Obsession. I speak this today at January the 14th, quite some time ago, before a BL series will launch, to which I feel within my heart that I have to speak. The name of the series is Ticket to Heaven with Gemini and Fourth, two actors I really value. I have thought about this weeks since this was announced, and I've seen screenshots and saw trailers. And there is this notion that I do not want to be a disturber of the peace. There is a knowledge, an experience, a clarity of things in what it means to be a gay man, both in my personal life and in the many people, gay men, I knew and know, and as historian about the history of oppression and persecution of gay people. I live in a clarity which allows me no peace, no bliss of ignorance in what is there supposedly to come. And I blame myself, I accuse myself here in this audio, for what right do I have to rob others of this bliss of ignorance when the clarity that I have is a nightmare? No, I have no right, and the guilt is upon me. But like Cassandra, I must speak for like she spoke of Troy, the city that was destroyed. I must speak because of the victims that have no voice. I wish I could travel back in time and pay GMM-TV billions of dollars to say, do not make this series. For why, you will ask? Well, I can ignore it. I can decide not to watch it, you will say. But it is more. I know of its existence. And I know how it will end. I may be wrong, but I'm quite certain it will not be like this. And it is this knowledge of the ending which I know it will be, with which I cannot make peace, to which I cannot be silent. The stories simplified is, I will call them by their actor name. No, I want to say one thing ahead. If Fos Natavat would tomorrow announce his marriage to a woman and kiss her in public, I would rejoice for him. It's his life, all right? It's about the story, about the narrative, about what it reveals, about the wound. You see, my relation to Christianity is according to my biography and according to what I know as historian, like that of Captain Ahab to the white whale. It has wounded me, and I cannot let it go. This is my character flaw, I know, you will say. With rightful justice you can accuse me. Who are you to disturb our peace? Now let me tell you this, I know many Christians I hold in the greatest regard, who I would attest before the highest powers that they are really good people. But let me also, with the clarity of a historian, say this. They are despite that holy book, not because of it. They have created their private Jesus, which is not evil or wrong. Maybe it is the best way. But it is a private fantasy Jesus that such people follow. And I will never apologize for saying this. It is not an accusation. It is what this book brought into history and into my life and the life of people I knew. I want to tell you a bit of my story so that you do not believe it is an evil rant. You see, I was a Christian until 15 when I read Friedrich Nietzsche's The Antichrist, and I realized what set of moralities are preached there. This is a personal decision, and it is not the reason why I make this video, because that is just my set of values. I'm not a Nietzschean. It was just a purge to be said. I'm a pagan and a Mithraist, if you have to know. And more or less, I would subscribe to the values of liberal humanitarianism. So you know where I stand. But the number of people, including myself, who has become victim of followers of this religion in my life that happened to me, of people that I knew, of people that I heard, and their long-standing history, I cannot be silent. If you do not want to further hear this, you have all the right to shut down this video, this audio, and say, I don't want to hear it. Enjoy I can understand it. For a topic I would never have wished would invade my peaceful sanctuary of BL is invading it, is rubbing into my wound, and it is a pain that I carry throughout my life, where I think this is the least that I wanted to enter my sanctuary in a world where war becomes norm, where authoritarianism and evil from all the corners of the world is rising, and my little boy's love world. This topic was the least I ever wanted to see again in this sanctuary of peace and love. But it has entered, and I cannot pretend it didn't. And I want not. It starts with, I will call them by the actor's name, I cannot memorize their role's name, with Gemini, who is somewhat disturbed for whatever reason, apparently for finding out or thinking he is gay, and Force, who is working in the church, trying to persuade him, or that is the description of the series, that being gay is wrong and is sinful. There are screenshots of Force kissing a girl, him trying to persuade himself that it is sinful and evil. And by the gods of Rome, of whom I am priest since I am 16 years old, it is something I've experienced by too many people and in my life. You have no idea what amount of anger I had when I was young against this religion. And it never was against a general group of people. I never was, believe it or not, one who ever thought like all Christians, all white people, all black people, all whatever it is. I swear by the 12 gods, this is never the way I feel or think. It's not in my character. Believe it or not. But it is a set of ideas that entered the world. And even when in Western Europe Christianity is vanished, the value system is still there. Now I know many people, gay or otherwise, believe, oh, we have made so much progress. Gay people are safe. We have overcome this. But I ask you to look at the United States of America, at the currently sitting president who threatens to start a war upon Greenland with his allies, us in Europe, for nothing, and the value these people represent, and tell me that progress is safe. That hope, that trust finally died in the days of January of 2026. That progress is irreversible, for we see it is not. And you may say, oh, there are so many good people. Yes, I believe so. But you see, I am German. And I know some things which are quite uncomfortable. Number one is, there was never a majority in Germans during the Third Reich who, if you had asked them, wanted Jews dead. We know this. But there was a minority who did it and a majority who didn't stop them. And in a small scale, I experienced the same. For see, when I was at school, with 16, 17, I had my public outing with 17, I was at school. And when I lay on the ground, Mother Earth Gaia soaking up my blood, no one of my friends spoke up or helped. No one of the many in the class waiting there for the teacher to approach, and there were many, stepped in against those two people who did this to me. Out of the blue, for no reason, I was not connected to them at all. When I lay there, Mother Earth taking my blood as witness. When I went to teachers, one half being conservative Christian said, oh, well, you shouldn't be gay, so tough luck. In nicer words, but clearly the same message. And the progressive lefty said, all these people, they are like this, you can change them easily, maybe you should not be so publicly gay, and it's not so good, and you should not make trouble. It is a thing that Dr. Martin Luther King said, which deeply moves me to this very day, to the core of my very existence, which I cannot forget decades later. It is not the hate of our enemies that we will remember, but the silence of our friends. It is this that I experienced. All the good Christians, the good lefties of that time, who felt that they would not want to harm, even as Christians, as Western European Christianity is relatively progressive, and was in West Berlin at this day already, most largely. They said, oh, Christianity, Bible or not, being gay is not evil. They did not step in. The liberals, the progressive teachers, which many, no one of them stepped in. None of them wrote a letter to the parents of those who did this to me. While I went to the teachers with my face still bleeding, none of them lifted a finger. My own parents said it's bad, it's horrible, but maybe you keep it silent. My own parents, my own blood and flesh said I should be silent. And there was nobody who took my side. None. And it is the heritage of this religion at whose feet I throw this entirely and completely. Not to the people. If you follow Christ and you said, I develop my own version of Christianity, all blessings to you. I have no quarrel with thee. But it justifies an origin of evil, of which even those who were no longer Christians inherited this view upon homosexuality, which did not exist as such before. And being pagan, I know this. It was not like it was perfectly paradisic. I know this. But it was never something that was singled out before Christianity came to be. I leave out Judaism for the simple reason they did their own thing. They never tried to persuade others. And it is that silence of friends, of people who claim to be on our side, which haunts me to this day, where I know in my heart of hearts, when such right-wing Christian things will rise again, as I'm afraid they do, how many liberals, how many progressive Christians will step between me and those with murder in their eyes looking at me? How many will do this? And I have lost the trust that there will be anyone. And this is the end what will come, I tell it to you now. They will make some peace with their personal Christianity and say, oh, God and Jesus loved everyone. And so, yes, you can be gay and Christian. And no, you can't. Not if you're truly honest with the history of Christianity. Not if you truly read the Old and the New Testament, which I did. And I am one of the person who frequently, I've never met any Christian when I debated as neutrally as possible, the contents of the New and the Old Testament. There is a condemnation of gay people in the New Testament just the same. It's not the Old Testament alone, as many people believe. It's quite clearly written in the letters of the Apostle Paul. And it's quite clearly in the words of Christ that he does not absolve any rule of the Old Testament, even though the Christians believe that. It's not in this book. And for whatever reason, the Christians forgot all the evils that God abhors in the Old Testament, but that never. And they ingrained it into the world. Even in regions where Christianity never set foot, like Japan. Japan had an open-minded culture, is a samurai and gay culture. Before they had contact with the Americans, and they took not Christianity, not much of America other than baseball, and thinking that gay was evil. That was what the Japanese culture from Christianity, from American Christianity inherited. There was no place Christianity did not touch, that it did not poison. And it ran deep into the minds of culture and history that I do not think it can ever be removed. These years and this year, the Trump year, especially as like the final nail in the coffin, has destroyed my hope that progressive is an irreversible thing. A point that we can achieve, and that we gay people and other minorities, trans people, lesbians and so forth, that we are truly ever safe because we are the minority. And the majority of straight people will not throw themselves into the firing line in which we may stand at some point, which does not need to be taken literal. I don't think Ticket to Heaven is about literal life and death. It is about life and death of the soul, of the heart. I know people who were raised Catholic in a time when Catholicism was quite stern, and I know that there are gay people who told me, as a priest, I took priesthood seriously, like people could talk to me. That is why I know many stories. I know stories of a woman who was growing up in Islam, and when she did not want to follow Islam any longer, her own brother threw acid in her face, and her face is ruined permanently by acid. And she came to me because I have a YouTube channel speaking about philosophy, spirituality, and politics. That is why people know that I am a pagan priest and a philosopher. That is why I've talked to many people who talked to me about the wounds in their heart and lives. And that is why I know many a pain, connected to religion or not. And this is, as I said, people who grew up in a Catholic private school, who are now in their 50s like myself, and who told me, despite the struggle of decades of being a gay man, there is always a voice in their heart telling them it is evil and I will go to hell. Like there are people whose wounds, it's like the dish that drops and splinters, and you say, oh, I'm sorry. Is the dish now repaired? No, it isn't. It cannot. You cannot buy a new soul, a new life. When people waste decades, and I know many did, and in part I did, because of fear, and I am filled with fear that anyone notices I am gay. I have a mask of stone grown onto my face of self-control out of the sheer fear that ate up my soul. Just the same. That I can never be relaxed. That I can never be truly like myself. Like it's a fear that will never end as long as I live. And it is stronger in other people I met who told me the depths of their heart. And for them much more than for myself, for who I am but one man who matters not in the great scheme of things. But for the millions of the last 1,500 years of Christendom and the Christendom 2.0, also known as Islam, carrying the same values. For the victims, physically, mentally, and in the soul, who faced all the harm, I do not choose to be silent. I cannot accept that there is an ending, as it will be, that promises, oh, we gay people should make our peace with this, with the cross. It is not bearable to all the things that I know of history, on the life of others. Like, just to finish it with one final example, as a pagan priest in the 90s, many agnostics and atheists of my friends, also being gay, died of AIDS. And a few of them called me and said, you are a friend or a buddy, and we also know you're a priest. Can you please come to me? There's nobody coming. And at the first, I didn't know why is nobody coming. There were two I was there in their dying moments, whose Christian parents never once visited them while dying in the hospital, not once, because their Christ God told them that it was their own fault to have AIDS because God punished them, and so it was written in their holy book. I owe it to those dying alone to speak up and say, nay, there shall be no peace between me and that book. I owe it to them. Do you understand? I owe it to all of them. Them I knew, them I was there, and all the many's I do not know because they are nameless lists in history. And now this enters my sanctuary, our sanctuary. I do not watch it. And you say, so what are you commenting about? Because I have a conscience. I have a heart. I have a pain that will not heal. A wound that was done to me that never heals. And for me, there can be no good ending for such a story like, oh, we make our peace with that, other than them turning away and saying this is a book of evil, and we cast it over our shoulders, which will not happen because you deserve your peace. The world wants not to hear of all the evils done. And who am I, the messenger of evil things, of evil realities, which rightfully you live in happy ignorance, which you deserve. God's be my witness that I wish it upon you. To not know of all these things, for what does it change? Nothing. But like Hiob before God, if I am so keen to take a story of the Old Testament, I had to pour out my heart to friends and say what I feel. I am sorry for the disturbance of the peace. Thanks for listening.